Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I hope it's a good one, because it certainly is for us. It's Cirakē. It's Some of Sunday, a new program that we started earlier this year, sponsored by the Western Diocese and ePostle.net. The entire object is to get us ready for the week ahead. And do we have a week that is so full of activities? It's the week in front of us, because next Sunday happens to be the Feast of Holy Etchmiadzin. And this is the oldest cathedral in the world, bar none, oldest Christian cathedral anywhere on the planet. And we celebrate not only the cathedral, but we celebrate the beauty of that church, Etchmiadzin. And by church, we mean, yes, the building, but we also mean our community, the Armenian church. So let's back up a little bit, because I said we've got several activities that lead up to that celebration, and it begins tomorrow with Monday. It is the Feast of Sts Hripsime. The following day is the Feast of St. Gayane. Next Saturday is the Feast of St. Gregory the Illuminator, being delivered from the pit. So now, what are all these stories? Why are they connected? Well, with the minute I said Hripsime and Gayane, some of you who've been to Armenia have probably figured out that when you get into the town of Etchmiadzin, what was called Varshabad, when you get into that town, you see two prominent monasteries there. One is Hripsime and one is Gayane. And it's not by chance that they were named after these two saints, but it's because they are so intricately involved with the story of Etchmiadzin. So you've probably heard that the Armenians were the first Christian nation. You probably know that it was the king. And if you don't, let me give you a real quick one, but I'm not going to go into too many of those details. But the king, whose name was Tirtad in the 4th century, late 3rd century, he suffered a grave illness. And St. Gregory the Illuminator, who later became known as the Illuminator, was imprisoned in this pit. Today that pit exists. It's called Horvirab. Literally, the word means the deep pit. He was put in this pit for 13 years. He was imprisoned there, and he survived by his prayers and the goodwill of the king's sister, who fed him and brought him food, and he was able to survive for those 13 years. And when the king discovers this, he brings St. Gregory from the pit and he heals the king. And upon that healing, the king proclaims Christianity as the official state religion of Armenia. So that's how it happens. Now, you may have heard that story. That's very quickly said. I invite you to read about it. There's so many articles written about that entire incident. But what I'd like to share with you is, why did the king get sick? Why was he so gravely sick? Let's back up a little bit, okay? And we go to these two ladies. One is Hripsime, the other one is Gayane. And they were both nuns inside of a convent. Hripsime, we are told, is incredibly beautiful, and she catches the eye of the king Tirtad. And he makes his advances, and she refuses those advances. And then there's Gayane, what we may call the mother superior of the convent. And she backs Hripsime. She says, no, you are safe inside this convent. And the king continues to make advances. Hripsime wants nothing to do with him. He's not Christian. He's married. Doesn't want to deal with it. And she says no, stands firm to her faith and her commitment. And as a result, the king has not only Hripsime and Gayane, but the others in the convent beheaded, killed. And I don't want to get into gory details either, but it's part of the story. And that's why I said, please read it. I'm doing the Reader's Digest abbreviated version of this story. It's a really fascinating story when you see how it all comes together. But I hope I can make those connections really quickly. Hripsime, Gayane refuse the advances of the king. The king has them ordered to death, executes them. As a result, he becomes sick. Same time, Gregory the Illuminator is going through Armenia, proselytizing, telling people to repent and to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. he is punished by being thrown into a pit and figured good for dead. It's 13 years later that they discover he's alive. He comes out and he heals St. Gregory, the Illuminator. And so this week, we commemorate each of those activities. On Monday, Hripsime. On Tuesday, Gayane. On Saturday, we have St. Gregory's deliverance from the pit. There are different feasts for St. Gregory, and if you happen to be at Horvirab, the deep pit, on that particular day, you see thousands of people coming as pilgrims, coming and marking the day and offering their prayers for a very special event in human history. Not Armenian history, human history. And let me explain that. Because the following day, next Sunday, we celebrate Etchmiadzin. Etchmiadzin literally means the place where the Son of God descended. The only begotten Son of God descended. Etch means descent. Miadzin means the only begotten. And as the story goes, after St. Gregory was delivered from the pit, Armenia became Christian, and he started building these beautiful churches over these pagan altars. Etchmiadzin came to him in a dream where Jesus descended from heaven and said, "This is where you will build my church." And if you go to Etchmiadzin today, you will see right in the center of that beautiful cathedral is what's called the Ichman Seran, the table of descent. And you will see these 4 little spikes that are driven right into the ground. This is where Jesus Christ came and said, "This is where you will build the church of the Armenian people." And there it is. Etchmiadzin became the center of the Armenian church. Because of Etchmiadzin and its domes and its structures, this is why all of our Armenian churches look similar. It's that design that we take. This is why the hoods of the monastics, what we call the verar, it has that unique shape. There's more to it than just a copy of the shape. It's aerodynamically formed. I mean, there's so much of this. And this is why when we do these giragis, it's just some of Sunday. You want to get the full story. I mean, join us at ePostle every single day. We've got things going on. Join the many people who are learning more and more about this incredible faith of the Armenian people. On Etchmiadzin's feast, next Sunday, what we do is we remember that Etchmiadzin is more than just the building. In fact, in the words of His Holiness Garekin I of blessed memory, he said, Etchmiadzin is mission. And what that means is that once Christ comes and touches you, you now have a mission to go out there. And that's part of why we're here today at ePostle. It's a mission to go out and to share this news. So on the Feast of Etchmiadzin, we get together in the churches and we celebrate this very auspicious occasion where Jesus Christ came and pointed out where the church of the Armenian people would be. As a message for you today, I want to just share the little action of St. Hripsime, a very small little action. She said no. She stood her ground. She knew what she wanted and she believed in it. That little no caused the ripple effect, the domino effect, whatever you want to call it, to the Armenian people. As a result, we had Etchmiadzin. As a result, we have a language. As a result, we have Mesrob Mashlots who invented the alphabet to translate the Bible. And as a result, we now have our literature. We have our history books. As a result, we had and still have persecution, which manifested itself in the form of genocide in the early 20th century and continues today. It continues today. Don't fool yourself. Genocide didn't end in the 20th century. It continues today. The hatred of people towards others. But this is what's so important about the Armenian faith, that it is a witness, yes, to crucifixion. It is a witness to resurrection, not only in Jesus Christ, but in the manifestation of Jesus Christ in our own lives and in our history. And that's what we invite you to be a part of. That's the message that we take home on this week of Holy Etchmiadzin. It's a building, but it is so much more. And we invite you to find that so much more. It is purpose, it is intention, it is identity, it is completeness. Holy Etchmiadzin, the feast, leading up by the actions of a small little girl who made a big difference. And she becomes an example for all of us. In the things we want to do that seem overwhelming in life, we are the key to stay firm in our beliefs. And you look at the world, that's what we need right now, is people who know that their purpose in life is to do those small things that will have incredible impact on the rest of society, on the rest of life. I hope you can find that in your life. I know so many people through the church, inspired by this message, will be able to find that. Because Hripsime, Gayane, St. Gregory the Illuminator, St. Tirtad, all of these people are people that are not just part of history, they're part of our lives today. They need to be part of our lives. Hey, listen, before we leave today, I want to just share with you where we're going. We started this a few months ago, Cirakē, Sum of Sunday, on the suggestion of some young people, some high school and college students who said, this is what we want to do. And of course, right now we are at the end of the school year. So we're going to take a break with the school cycle, and we will be back in August. We're going to take a couple months off as we do some other things, put together some new programming. And when we get back with the back to school program, I hope you will join us on Sunday evenings for Sum of Sunday. We're going to have guest speakers, as we've been doing for this last few months. I hope you've enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you. First of all, I'd love to hear where you're watching us, how you watch us, and any other comments you have. You can drop me a line at feedback@epostle.net. And of course, ePostle is apostolic evangelism for an electronic world. Hey, we take a break right now. See you again in August. And remember, even though we're on vacation, God never takes a vacation from us. So keep your prayer life, keep that connection with God always fresh and alert. God bless you. And we conclude with Christos imech med Christ is revealed in our midst. God bless.